let us say you as a project leader, what are your responsibilities in the define phase? What are we supposed to do? How should we think and how should we act? Good morning, RK sir.
Good morning, RK.
Sir, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
What is the first thing we need to ensure in the define phase? What is the first point?
Identification of the problem.
What is that?
Identification.
Okay, problem identification. Very good. Very good.
Defining
Problem
the
identification is the first thing.
Yeah.
So
Then
what are all the tools related to problem identification? We learned. What are the we
CTQ.
learned?
CTQ identity.
CTQ tree. Yes, that's an important tool. Very good. Then what are the other tools? Tools related to problem identification. Come on, answers should flow by this time. What are the tools? How about voice of customer?
voice of customer, voice of business.
The voice of business.
Okay.
And COPQ,
COPQ, cost of poor quality. Yes.
and CTQ.
CTQ tree. These are the tools by which we understand the problem. In fact, we identify the problem, and the surveys, questionnaire, brainstorming, all are tools. All these things are the tools using which you can identify problem in any organization. We need to use them with an intention of identifying the problem, hidden problems, as visible as well as invisible problem. So these tools will bring out both the visible problem as well as the invisible problem. So even if you go to a company where everything is perfect, there will be hundreds of invisible problems, right? And as a Six Sigma consultant, you will always be able to understand, the improvement opportunities in plenty, right? Even in a company which is already practicing Six Sigma. Okay, all that we need to do is we need to make best use of all these tools, which are voice of customer, voice of business, the cost of poor quality, CTQ tree, and brainstorming, surveys, focus group discussion, and we can also think of using a few more tools which we will be learning today. The Kano model, quality function deployment, QFD. With all these tools, yes, the define phase can go on very well. Okay, after problem identification, the second step in the define phase, we did not focused much on the step number 2, but we learned the Pareto there. What is the second step? Anybody remember in define phase? After problem identification.
Defining the problem.
Project
Selection of problem.
Selection of problem. So
What about the defining the problem? Selection of the problem is one. Also, define correct
problem definition.
Problem
Another
definition.
step of
we do
the
that in the step number 3 while creating the project charter. That is actually taken care in the project charter, where we have space for problem statement separately, business case separately.
Can I come, sir?
Separately.
Can I?
Yes, sir.
Please note why define is not coming in the first step, because what is the point in defining every problem, wasting our time? Once we select which is more critical problem, then we go to solve the problem for which definition is required. Once we define the problem clearly, we'll be able to solve it.
So,
therefore, defining the problem comes in the project charter. Once we select the problem, the second step.
So these steps are created in certain logic, and which will guide you in the, in a direction that where the resource consumption is minimum. At the same time, the results will be maximum. That is the idea. So second step, project selection, talks about identifying the projects which are suitable for Six Sigma, number 1. Another thing, identifying a project which fulfills, the organization priorities.
Yeah.
There are 2 reasons, and for step number 2, project selection. First of all, we need to understand whether the project is really a candidate for the Six Sigma. Otherwise, it can be solved by, the other existing structure, which is there in the organization already. Maybe some case in team can handle, quality circle can handle, or it can be solved by PDCA methodology. Why DMAIC methodology? Why Six Sigma team? Why green belts and black belts? So we need to have a justification. And our understanding there is, if the problem is recurring in nature, right? And the solution should not be available, right? Solution should not be available, and root cause should be unknown. So these situations confirms that the project is a candidate for Six Sigma. If there are many such cases, you should again write them in a proper order, which is most important to the current situation. This is called prioritization. Here, you can use Pareto if the priority is just one factor. If there are multiple factors, you need to assign weightage for different factors. You need to assign weightage, and with respect to the overall weightage, it is like, checking your attendance, also checking your test mark, also checking your, the assignments, and assigning weightage for everything. And finally arriving on the conclusion, whether, you're eligible for the belt or not. But in our case, how are we taking the decision? We take the decision only using your test mark, right? So this is only one factor we are considering. Similarly, in many organizations, most of the time, they just look at one factor and then prioritize. But the better approach is bring in the relevant factors, right? Because the priorities can be multiple, right? I want quality. At the same time, I want profit. At the same time, I want my customers to be happy. At the same time, I want my employees to be happy. At the same time, my organization should grow. So we will be using different KPIs. Can you find the formula by which you can convert all these priorities into one single number, which is called a weighted number, Then weighted Pareto can be used to prioritize the project. And another equivalent tool is prioritization matrix. When you really wanted to do this step number 2, you should have a broader perspective of your organization's objective. You should not think only from the project point of view. If you want to really do the step number 2, very diplomatically, you should have an idea about the organization's objective. What is that the top man want to achieve in the next 3 years, 5 years? Strategic objective. And and then the strategic objective is drilled down to tactical objective, or you can call them goals, strategic goals, tactical goals. The middleman, the middle level managers, the top level managers are made responsible for the strategic goals. The middle level managers are made responsible for the tactical goals. Tactical goals are nothing but the annual goals, which are derived from the strategic goals. Because strategic goal is achieved in 3 years. If I want to achieve something in 3 years, then I should deliver result, every year. Then only my result, my 3-year goal will be achieved. Hope all of you agree.
Yes.
So the tactical goals are actually derived from the strategic goals, and there will be continuous discussions happening between top level managers and the middle level managers to arrive on the tactical goals. Hope all of you understand. What I want, I am very clear. But what are you supposed to do so that my desire is fulfilled? That we will be discussing. And sometimes people call this, a catch ball technique. They just discuss, I want this, how can you help me? So you will give me certain things. And if you give me certain things, the collection of it will help me to achieve my desire, my goal. So it is fundamentally the strategic goal that is getting divided into number of tactical goals, annual goals. And every year there will be annual goals. And every annual goal can again be drilled down so that the people at the down level managers can assume the responsibility. Now the down level goals are called operational goals. Is this goal alignment happening? Everything the down level manager are doing should help the middle level managers and eventually should help the top level managers achieve their goal. Not necessarily in short term, but definitely in long term. Hope all of you understand. This is called
Yes,
goal
sir.
alignment. If you really want this goal alignment to happen, then priority should be very, very clear. Isn't it? The priorities. And how are you going to validate the priorities? You need metrics. They are called, KPIs. They are called KPIs, key performance indicator, right? So using the right KPI is very, very important to ensure goal alignment with every single project the organization is driving, right? So what are the KPIs? We call it the financial KPI. Yes, most of the time organization will be focusing here. What is equally important is customer KPI. And the other equivalent KPI is process KPI. And one more important thing is learning and growth KPI. So you must necessarily have KPIs drawn from all the 4 pillars. The first pillar is profit or financial KPI. The second pillar is customer. The third pillar is process. And the fourth pillar is learning and growth, innovation, creativity, and all those things should happen so that, we can lead the market. So with the help of the KPIs, and you can check which project has more potential to impact our KPI. And then you will be getting a number. And based on that, the project is prioritized. So this is actually the expectation in the step number 2. In step number 2, you are checking the suitability of the project. You are also checking the goal alignment. This is what we try to understand in our goal statement also. The R is given, the relevance, whether this project is relevant to the organization goals or not. All right. Now these 2 are done. Now you are happy with some order of projects. This is called, the pipeline, right? A pipeline is created, set of 10 projects, 20 projects. In the same order, the organization will be supporting the project. Now the third one, the problem is completely defined. For that purpose, we are using tools like Project Charter and SIPOC. And Project Charter will talk about problem statement, business case, goal statement, scope statement, timeline, team members, and any other information like definitions about the terminologies that also you can include in the Project Charter. Like operational definition can be used in define phase also. And then some formulas and many things. And Project Charter should always be signed by the project leader and as well as the finance controller. And then only it will be approved by the project sponsor. And Project Charter, it is always, a good idea to annex the SIPOC along with the Project Charter. What does SIPOC stand for? Supplier, input, process, output, customer.
Output and customer.
Why it is required? There are 2 purposes. One is you first of all understand the process that is responsible for the failure. We need to understand the process that is responsible for the failure. A process is considered to be responsible for the failure if the outcome of the process is your Y variable. If the outcome of the process, the final output of the process is your Y variable. What is Y variable? Your CTQ. Please try to check whether the final output of the process leads to your Y variable. And the root of the problem should be somewhere inside the process, which is nothing but root cause. That means the process should actually contain the Y and X. If the process is not containing your Y and X, you are still working on it. You're wasting the resource. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, you're wasting your energy, and you are working in a wrong area, wrong place. So you need to give a bigger projection, a high-level view of the process, right? So that is the purpose of SIPOC. And moreover, the SIPOC helps in visualizing the stakeholders. The SIPOC helps in visualizing the stakeholders. People who are all connected with the process. They're all called stakeholders. The people who give the input, the people who receive the output, the people who actually execute the task, all of them are stakeholders. All right. So suppliers on the left side, customers on the right side, and the process owners in the center. If you could see all their faces, you have a proper clarity on the stakeholders, right? And everyone's requirement and deliverable from everyone must be respected, right? And that this is called, stakeholder analysis. Stakeholder analysis. Who are all the stakeholders? What is this particular stakeholder requires? And what is that he doesn't want? His likes, his dislikes, and his emotions and all those has to be considered, so that then only a problem can be understood well and then a solution can be offered. Now, all of you, do you understand how the project charter and SIPOC is helping us in defining
Yes.
the problem?
Yes, sir.
And then if it is approved, your projects comes to life, and project charter is considered a living document, means you can always update as and when there is a better understanding about the process, stakeholder, problem, and all these things happens. You can always update. Sometimes what happen, a problem might be bigger than what you anticipated, which you come to know only during the measure phase. Then the project charter must be updated because the benefits might get doubled now. Efforts might be, you might require more efforts. Sometimes project duration might get extended. These kind of uncertainties will be there. Then only it is a Six Sigma project. Otherwise, you are simply working on a project manager role. You're not a Six Sigma belt, right? So these kind of uncertainties will be there. And the champion sponsor who are part of the top management should understand these uncertainties. Otherwise, they will hesitate a lot to extend the support. Why are you often changing all these things? These kind of confusions will go around and they may not support the team properly. So that's why, it is important to impart knowledge at all level. You are implementing project at the down level, and just having one green belt, results cannot be delivered. You need a team of Six Sigma belts. All of them need to work on. And then the middle level managers should at least be yellow belts. Otherwise, you reporting to them and then, delivering result for them will be a very big challenge. And the top management, the top managers, the project sponsor, right? And he should at least be a white or an yellow belt. Then only, they could understand, your challenges, and they can support nicely. So this is what we need to do in the define phase, and then we move on to measure phase. And in the measure phase, our goal is to measure the baseline correctly. Measure the baseline correctly. The correct intensity of the problem needs to be understood. For that, the first step we do is data collection plan. Data collection plan. You need a template, you need a format using which you will tell your team very clearly who should be involved in the data collection, what is the frequency of data collection, and what kind of data needs to be collected, whether the data type is continuous or data type is discrete, whether it is continuous or discrete, what is the range within which the data is required, the target value, the upper spec, lower spec, and the operational definition of it. All that, you should give very clearly. This is called data collection plan. This is called data collection plan. And then you move on to validating the measurement system. Please understand, we still not collected data. We created a data collection plan. Now we are validating the measurement system. Still data collection is not yet started. Then what kind of data we use for measurement system validation is a pilot data collection. Pilot is not the actual data. Piloting is, we do it similar to
10%.
the actual data collection. But then we will not use it as such, for the analysis or for calculation of baseline. Whatever data you collect for measurement system validation, it is only for validating the measurement system and not for calculating the baseline. Validate the measurement system, understand the limitations of your measurement system, then implement your data collection plan. That is step number 6. And now the data is collected. You measure the baseline with the data because your data is now credible and worthy. Use it. Calculate the yield, calculate the DPMO, calculate the PPM, or calculate the sigma level, whatever your company is using, CPCPK, and you get a clarity on the ground level, the ground reality. Now you move on to analyze. In analyze phase, you need to identify the root cause, and the journey towards root cause is possible or the probable cause. Possible or the probable cause. That's the first goal. Second goal, potential root cause. And then validating the potential root causes so that you can actually call them as root causes. And for validation, you have hypothesis testing. Once the root causes are validated, you move on to the next step where you check this relationship of the root cause, the correlation regression. And you not only check the relationship, you also ensure the sufficiency. How do we understand the sufficiency? By measuring the R square. If my R square is 80% and above, yes, the number of root causes I have identified are sufficient enough to at least produce 80% of the
0.96.
Result I have promised. If it is 100%, close to 100%, and it's a very rare event, and it's a
High
good
quality.
event. Yeah, R square close to 100% means it is too good. This is how you do the analysis. There are many tools we learned here: brainstorming, and then YY analysis, fishbone cause and effect analysis, and any other which Pareto. Again, there is an impact control matrix, hypothesis testing, several hypothesis testing, correlation, regression, scatter, all these tools, R square,
p-value,
many tools we have come across only to ensure we do not make mistake in any of these steps. Otherwise, we will be moving in a zigzag manner, wasting the organization resources. We want to travel in the proper direction so that with the minimum of resources, we produce the maximum possible result. And then we move on to improve and control. Now the improve and control, if you have done the define, measure, analyze well, the job in improve and control will become much easier. You can talk about the solution, because if you think about the solution, you will be able to think properly, because you know everything about the problem, the intensity of it, and then the root cause of it. All that you have done extensive analysis study. Your team definitely be able to generate the solution. So how can we generate solution? There are certain tools like benchmarking, again brainstorming, critical thinking, and you can use all those things. You can also integrate nominal group technique, where you divide a group, according to certain factor, and then you enable them to discuss separately, and then you can reassembling them to share all their viewpoints. This is called a nominal group technique. All these tools and techniques you use, but again, analytical tools are there, like design of experiments, which we will be mastering tomorrow. And but in my opinion, if you have done the define, measure, analyze well, just with a qualitative analysis or qualitative tools, you will be able to generate solution, and then use the same existing tools to validate the validate the solution, and then implement the solution, pilot and implement, and then you move on to control. And here now the goal is to see to that the results are sustained. You have achieved the result. Create some plan, daily activities, which will ensure the same problem will not happen again. The problem is prevented forever. That means you will give some additional focus on those root causes which you learned from your project. All the mistakes you have done, there are certain learning. So document all these learnings. This is called a lessons learned document. Once the lessons are learned, and try to re-standardize your process. Make the required changes in the process, update the SOPs. That means your daily activities, you are making some important changes in the daily activities, isn't it? The operational activities.
Yes.
So, which means you are keeping an additional eye on the critical X factor, maybe additional control charts, additional data collection on a daily basis. This is called a control plan. Once the control plan is in place, the same problem cannot happen. And then you completely document your results, celebrate the success, and then as a Six Sigma expert, you move on to the next project, right? So this is how the flow will be, and this is what you learned, and your journey so far was a green belt, right? A Lean Six Sigma green belt. And now we are going to gain additional clarity on all these tools. To start with, we are going to understand an important tool called Kano model.
Sir, before that, sir.
Yes.
Sir, last Thursday we discussed F-test and parallel